Wins really do come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. 1-0. A first inning Josh Naylor single holds up as the Mariners defeat the Orioles tonight in Camden Yards. The Mariners improved to 67 and 53 on the season. Before I go any further into the recap, if you can like the video, it helps out tremendously. Subscribe if you're new or lurking, 81 subs away from 5,000. And also, most importantly, don't forget to comment your thoughts on the team and on the game down below. Thank you to everybody for all your support. I'm not going to get into the standings here because the Mariners, that's why you don't see the ticker on the bottom. The Mariners are playing an earlier game today. East Coast, there's no other game is final. So it's going to be too tough to update it. I can tell you last I checked, Houston was losing. If they lose, the Mariners will be tied for first place. Cleveland was up in the ninth inning, so the Mariners will be 4 up on a playoff spot and 1.5 up on the first wild card, of course, pending Houston and Boston's results. So for the next week or so, you won't see the ticker on the bottom. Just too many moving parts that'll change once most of you probably watch this video. Yeah, listen, at this point in the season, you need to get W's, you need to stack them, and the Mariners just won their 8th ball game in a row. Not all 8 wins are going to be the most beautiful things ever. If you win that many games in a row, you're going to run into some games that look kind of like this. And truthfully, it was ugly from like an offensive standpoint. It would have been nice if they did a little bit more today, but George Kirby was absolutely fantastic. Bizzardo and Spire were great, and Munoz locked it down in the ninth despite having what looked to be a little bit of fatigue there, and then having a walk and a ground ball find a hole. He wiggles through it and gets out of it. Baltimore's offense certainly is not the powerhouse it has been in the past. They've traded away Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano. Adley Rushman's having a bit of a down year. I would even say Gunnar Henderson's having a pretty solid season. But Cedric Mullins is gone. So a lot of people not in this Orioles lineup. It's still got some thump, though, at the top, right? It's still capable. The bottom's a little bit weak. And the Mariners kept them off the board. It's an Orioles team that has given the Mariners a lot of fits this year. They swept them earlier in the year in Seattle. So nice to see the Mariners get one. Now you got Logan Gilbert going tomorrow with a chance to, win this series and start this road trip on a good note. It already did start on a good note today to get it done. Josh Naylor delivers the big hit, the single in the first inning. Really kind of a slow prodding game. Didn't think a lot of balls were hit hard by either side. If they were hit hard, it was mostly ground balls. Not a lot of loud outs, not a lot of traffic in this game either. The Mariners did have some chances early on in the first few innings. In fact, 3 out of the first 4, they got the leadoff man on. Only in the first inning did they do anything with it. I don't know if Baltimore had a leadoff man on all game, to be honest. I think they had a couple one-out singles, but that was about it. So really an interesting game because not only looks at 1-0, but no traffic whatsoever. I don't think a team had a second and third with 1-out situation, no bases loaded. I don't even know how many at-bats were taken with runners in scoring position here. Let's take a look at that. Very few, I would think. Mariners were 1 for 2. Orioles were 0 for 2. So pitching was key in this game. And listen, the Mariners offense is good enough. I'm going to give them a pass. I thought Dean Kramer threw the ball well. Sometimes pitchers beat you. Kramer's not a stud, top line starter, but he's not bad. He's actually a guy when we've had discussions, in the past with, did the Mariners send Logan or George Kirby to Baltimore and get one of their hitters? That's always been like a perfect match because Baltimore needs young pitching. The Mariners have needed some young hitters. Kramer's been a guy I've always said, if you do a trade, maybe you get Dean Kramer back into rotation guy. He's solid, right? And he was really good today. His splitter looked good. Frustrating. You'd like to get more runs off of him. But sometimes you tip your cap. And the Mariners offense is good enough, has been good enough all season, where I'm willing to tip the cap to him. Tomorrow's going to be tough with Rogers on the mound. Very good pitcher, Trevor Rogers for the Orioles. So glad the Mariners were able to get this one today. Tomorrow's going to be a tough one. Going to need the right-handed bats, the Randys, the Julios, to really step up against Rogers. Let's talk about how good George Kirby was in this game. And the fact that George Kirby, he's back. This is George Kirby now. We are officially getting, I think all the cobwebs are kind of dusted off. 7 shutout innings today, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. Tough conditions, too, in that heat. You think it would maybe fatigue pitchers more than hitters. Tonight would probably be the opposite evidence of that. But Kirby was absolutely fantastic, and he's back into that I feel safe with George Kirby on the mound, if that makes sense. There's a while there was a little iffy. Not only is he dialed in the command, early in the year it was shaky by his standards. I don't think overall his walk rate was probably well below league average, but for George Kirby standards, it was, I think, a little bit off. And and going 7 innings tonight, which is huge and then saves the bullpen. Munoz does end up having to throw 18 pitches. Wouldn't be shocked if he's down tomorrow. But Spire and Brash, Ferguson, maybe Bizzardo, all should be good. So tremendous for George Kirby. Great to see the staff starting to string together some 6-7 inning starts, in kind of a dark way. Like the injuries to these guys may benefit this team down the road because Kirby doesn't have a full season workload on him. Doesn't mean he wasn't working very hard to get back in there, and he did make rehab starts, but he should be somewhat fresh. So should Logan for missing that month. Like, I'm not saying, oh, yay, these guys were hurt. And then if Bryce Miller comes back, which he is, sounds like he's going to make a start in Philly. That's going to be not a soft landing there. And I'm not overly confident that Bryce is going to be great. Just wasn't before the injury. I kind of thought he should just gotten the surgery. There's doctors on this staff that know way more than I do. But, if you get Bryce dialed in for a month, how big is that going to be? So in a way, some of this stuff may actually be benefiting the Mariners down the road. You never want to see people hurt and missing time. We feared Logan could be TJ. So obviously it's not a good thing at the time, but looking back on it may help. But yeah, I was just really impressed with George. And it's a good outing when it's 1-0. And I just didn't have a lot of nerves. Like, obviously, blue been a blast. Baltimore takes the lead. I wouldn't have been blown away that happened. But George was just really dialed in today. Like I said, not a lot of hard contact. If it was pounded into the ground. Not a lot of fly balls. In fact, 8 grounders to 2 flyouts. I didn't see hardly anything put in the air. And a couple of balls that were hit hard were right at defenders. And it wasn't like a lot of great defense. I shouldn't say not like amazing plays or anything behind him. So, in games like this, we have tendencies as fans to be very frustrated because you go, oh, 1-0. But highlight the pitching, man. Like, 12-3 is great too. And this team has won plenty of those games and this offense is good. We need the pitching to get going. We've talked about it and it really has. It's kicked it into gear because this offense is better than this today. This was just a bit of a dud. They're going to be fine. They're going to score way more runs over the course of the season here. So great to see the pitching. That gets me the most excited because come playoff time, you're going to be facing teams best, right? You're probably not going to have a playoff game where you put up 13 runs because the starters you're going to be facing are guys like Tarek Skubal, Hunter Brown, Framber Valdez, Max Fried, Garrett Crochet, Chris Bass. Actually, don't know Bassett's been that great. Gausman. I was meant to say Kevin Gausman. Guys like that. That's who you're going to face in the playoffs. Those are not guys you're going to get 8 runs in an inning and a third against. If you do, hey, God bless and more power to you. And then teams are going to go to their heavier bullpen arms, right? You're not going to see throwaway games in the playoffs. You're not going to see a white towel game. You're going to get, up 4-2 in the 5th. You're going to get one of their better arms. You're going to get the Bizzardos of the world coming in and the Caleb Fergusons coming into those spots. So the pitching has got to be dialed in because runs could be at a premium. Not saying they won't score runs if, in fact, they do get in the playoffs, but need the pitching dialed in. So enough of that. Let's finish up the box score. I talk about Kirby being fantastic tonight. Bizzardo, 2/3 of an inning, did give up a hit, but also had a strikeout. Another solid outing from Bizzardo. Gabe Spire comes in, gets the last out there in the 8th inning on the flyout. Munoz locks it down for his 28th save in the 9th. Looked like a little fatigue there. He was really huffing and puffing. As someone that works outside in tremendous heat, I can absolutely relate to the struggle. Not that I'm throwing 100-mile-per-hour with 90-mile-per-hour sliders at my job, but hey, it can be tough. So lost my train of thought there. So glad to see Munoz is okay. Thought they maybe should have taken him out just for precautionary reasons. I actually wouldn't have hated if Dan left Gabe Spire in for that 9th inning. Jackson Holiday, a lefty, Westberg, right-handed. You kind of wish it was back in the day. You could go Spire, Munoz, and then like Ferguson, one batter type thing. But I don't think it would have been a bad idea there. And then worst case is Spire gives up a run. Well, worst case would be gives up 2 runs, but let's say he gives up 1. You do have Munoz for the 10th and maybe Brash for the 11th if it got to that point. So I wouldn't have hated it. I'm never going to be mad about a manager going to Andres Munoz in the 9th inning. So don't get me wrong on it, but I don't think it would have been, I think it would have been kind of an interesting creative strategy there to leave Spire in there for the 9th. However, you do that, then you might not have Spire tomorrow either. So, it's totally fine. It was just something I thought would have been kind of interesting. Great job by the pitching staff. Anytime you pitch a shutout, it's great. First road shutout since 2023 in Tampa. I was doing a live stream for that game. I think it was a member stream. If you members remember that one, I think Munoz walked a little bit of a tightrope in the ninth inning. I think Luke Raley was caught stealing in that ninth inning, if I'm not mistaken. And it's funny. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Should I say what happened? I think that was right at the tail end of a big winning streak for the Mariners. And that's kind of when that September collapse happened in 23. Hopefully this is much different today, and this is not the start of it. Offensively, Mariners do get 6 hits, only 1 walk. Kramer was good. Tip our cap. If this becomes a trend over the next few weeks and they're still scoring 1 run a game, sure, we'll get frustrated. For today, we're going to tip our cap to Dean Kramer. Randy was 1 for 4. Cal 0 for 4. Julio 1 for 3 with the walk. Julio 4 at bats on base twice. Nice game. Josh Naylor was 1 for 4. It was a big one. The RBI single in the first that holds up. Gino 0 for 3. I'm essentially like Gino's been struggling, but the team's winning and I'm just holding out hope. Well, not holding out hope. That sounds like very dire. He's going to get on a hot tear. And you're like, oh man, they can't get Gino out. The good news is everyone around him is good enough. You haven't needed it yet. Polanco 1 for 3. Dom 1 for 3. JP 1 for 3. Cole Young 0 for 3. So not much. No extra base hits. I don't think. Was there an extra base hit in this game? Gunnar Henderson had a double off Kirby. Even that one, even the Gunnar Henderson double, I think was a play that was more of a single, and Dom just didn't get the throw in time there. So there was really nothing into the gap at all tonight from these teams. So really, really interesting game. We are in the dog days, right? We are at August 12th. The season ends September 28th. We are a month and a half away from baseball being over. Everyone matters. Everyone is important. Every win helps get you across the finish line. Let's check the scores actually right now. Let's see where we're at here. We're wrapping up the recap. Texas is up 2 on Arizona. Mariners are 6 up on Texas. And Texas doesn't play Seattle again, so they can't sweep us in a 4-game series and gain ground. Boston's up 2-0. They hold on. I think the Mariners actually have the tiebreaker right now, not head-to-head, but division record. I could be wrong. So Mariners could be in first place here. Cleveland wins, so the Mariners will be at max 4 games up on a playoff spot. And the Yankees, I think, are crushing Minnesota. Not too shocked. Mariners need to focus on the Mariners, right? At the end of the day, the most important thing is the Mariners collecting W's. They do that for their 8th straight win, 14 games over 500. Let's make it 9 tomorrow with Logan on the mound. Take care, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.